So one of my favorite people has decided to bless me with talking this morning for a couple minutes. And one thing I've always wanted to know, well, a couple things, but one I always wanted to know was how do you approach change that's uncomfortable?
Well, I mean, change is inevitable. It's just going to happen. And I think I just had to always draw on our faith.
Mm,
Um, and I think I've learned. So, like, okay, so like you learn, right? You have kids. That's a big change from, you know, being a couple and then going into having a kid and then two kids. And so you realize, well, I'm not the center of the universe anymore. My children need all of my attention, and nobody cares about me because my children walk in the room and they light it up. So, your perspective totally changes on life. And I think one of the biggest changes for us was when Stuart was diagnosed with ALS, and that was actually 13 years ago. This past June, June 25th was when he was first diagnosed, and that like rocked our worlds. I mean, when you look at ALS, it's usually a 2 to 5 year lifespan from the time of
wow, I
diagnosis.
didn't know that.
Yeah. So I fully expected at that point to be a widow. Um, I mean, that whole summer, because I'm a teacher, so I had the summer off, I was able to go to the beach. I would go once a week. And it just, I would just cry on the beach. And I took to prayer and fasting, and that was my day to do that. Then I would go home and encourage him, kind of like praising the Lord through the storm, that kind of thing. And going through that time, realizing that our life was going to change drastically, you prepare yourself. I mean, he was preparing himself to die.
Mm,
Um, he would be online all the time researching wheelchairs, looking at our end of life stuff. And I would keep telling him like, you're fighting, you're not fighting. And he said, but I am fighting. I know you're fighting to die. You're not fighting to win, live.
mm,
And perspective changed again when we got our service dog. For him, that was just like a big change perspective. It brought him back to a pre-diagnosis mindset, And so if he wasn't flexible enough to change at that point and just say, well, hey, this is it. This is how my life is going to be. I'm going to be there in a wheelchair or dead, and that's my life. But he changed his perspective and he said, I'm fighting to live. Well, it turned out that through the God's healing, I believe, his diagnosis changed from ALS to PLS, which is a non-life-threatening form. Still has all its mobility issues and all of that. But he's still here. This is 13 years. So I often look at him and how his perspective and his mindset, because I'd always say like, hon, you struggled so much to walk. Why don't you just get you a wheelchair? And his answer would be, the day I sit in a wheelchair is the day I'm not going to get up. And so
wow.
he would just keep fighting, and thank the Lord he did, because if he did go in a wheelchair, he would have lost everything that he had strength wise. So if he lays, and of course, I was diagnosed with cancer a year later. And, again, whole new change, life. Okay, what does this mean? And it was lymphoma, and my oncologist was like, this is curable and the whole thing. And I'm like, okay, but I knew I had to go through chemo, radiation, all of
Mhm.
that.